it's recording there now, so I'll just say, look, Kevin, it was great the chat we had the last time, like, and just back again because I heard last September you retired from the county council, and I just want to talk about that because I know you were there for a long time.
You're ready to go now, are you like?
Oh yeah, I'm chatting away.
Yeah, I left on the 1st of September. I left the council after 46 and a half years.
Wow.
Like, I started on the council in around April 1978. I started, as I thought, for 4 or 5 months because I was going to England over to relations of mine, we'd say around October time. But I met a man by the name of Mick Reynolds. Now, a lot of people would know him. A lot of the people at his era that are his age are long dead. But Mick Reynolds would be the grandfather of the lads that own Chewy Dial's pub now. He came from Kilo and kept a couple of greyhounds, of course, the more to himself, not much good. But he was what you call a travelling ganger. Now that meant travelling gangers of the day was they could have 40 men plus under them, and they would travel every day from site to site within the area where they were working.
Okay.
Now prior to them having a car, I believe, like, they went round on bicycles, like.
Wow.
But anyway, I met Mick Reynolds and we spoke, and he says to me, look, and he says, why don't you come on the council, he says, for a couple of months, because there'll be plenty of work for the summer, the roads will be busy and that, and make up your mind and see. And he said, if you want to stay, well, he says, I can be sure, he says, that if it suits you, he says, you can stay. So I says, yeah, I'd like to give it a try. So he said, I just have to see Adrian Duncan. Adrian Duncan from Ballymahon was the engineer over the area at the time. And he says, I'll let you know in a couple of days. So I met him 2 days there, and he says to me, yeah, he says, you'll be starting Monday. He says, be such a place at such a time, like, you'll be picked up and brought to your work. And of course I went off, as everybody had at the time. We had a USA biscuit box with a black band around it. That was what you brought your lunch in or that at the time, because there wouldn't be too many breakfasts or breakfast rolls as there is today at that time.
Yeah.
So anyway, the first day I'll never forget it, of course. I started out in Churchland, out where Seamus Finnan is, and where Seamus Finnan did live and where Bolfs live now. So what our job was, we were preparing roads for surface dressing, like for tarring. So now at that time there wasn't that much machinery. There was a lot of manual work. There was an awful lot of people on the council because it was manual work, like with shovels and spades and whatever, preparing the roads and that. So the first day I went, I was just thinking about it. There was 4 men that was there the first day. There's 3 of them dead. But then again, that's 46 years ago.
A long time ago.
You had well, Bill Kenny was a ganger. He was from Kilo. John Joe Hagan, they're dead. Poor old Dikey McAvey, colourful character. Dikey died too. And a fellow by the name of Mick McCann from Carabeg out in Newtown, he's still alive. So that was my first couple of weeks, and you were moved from area to area. I went from that, I would have gone from that, I think, to the Dublin Road. There was a big job on the Dublin Road, and I was sent to that. John Joe Talley from Ballinallee was over that, and Ned Sheridan from Black, all dead, these people. Like, I was there for a while, and I went from there down to Farna, well, McEwen, I always call it Farna, McEwen Park. Stage 2 was after being built. Now the people were in it, but the footpaths and the curbs and the steps that's in it and whatever, it would have been the council job and the roads to put in them. So I spent about 6 months there. I was on the mixer. I would have mixing an awful lot of stuff for, as I said, for the paths and the curbs and whatever within. Then whenever it was finished there, or the most of it finished, I went on with Ned Sheridan. Richie Hanafy was over us too. Like, Richie lived up beside me here. He was only my age. He was when we started, and he lives in the terrace, and his wife still does. He was a ganger man on it, and as I said, Red Jimmy Clark and several others, because there was a lot of people there. And I moved on then with Ned Sheridan, and we built down opposite Gandley's. There's a factory there, and it was a cluster factory. There were 5 little units, well, there was 5 units in it. There was 3 singles and a double for people that were starting up industries at the time. We built that factory. and like we built that factory. And then what I did forget to mention was like when I would have started on the council, like the council would have been one of the lower paid jobs.
Really?
The wages would have been small.
It's different now.
It sort of would have been a subsidy at the time for small farmers, really, if you know what I mean. Because the wages were small and the conditions were bad. Like, I can remember firstly, Burlington was going, and Hanlon's was going, and several others, and I remember it was common practice at the time for the publicans or for the shopkeepers to change checks.
Yeah.
Like everybody was paid by check, there was no in the bank. Some people were paid by cash, but a lot of people were paid by check.
It's common then.
But I remember being in the pubs or in wherever, like, and you'd nearly be embarrassed to change a check of what you were getting off the council compared to what the other fellas were getting, like from Hanlon's, Burlington's, whatever. But what I forgot, what I couldn't see at the time or wasn't thinking, like they were all doing overtime and they were all doing shift work and that. So maybe the council for the flat 40 hours was as good as what they would be getting had they been doing 40. And the conditions at the time were bad. Like they had just gone from, like at that time, you'd go and you'd ask somebody to boil a kettle for you to make a cup of tea or that. But then the union became very strong. There was some great union people, like, I mean, you had John Joe Talley, Lord rest him, you had Ned Sheridan, Bernie Nolan, Pat McCann, just to mention a few. When they were good union men, the unions were strong, the wages improved, and the conditions and the facilities improved, thanks to the unions, like, or to the union people. So anyway, that was that. I came then to about 1980. And I had been here, there and every place, as I said. So the bin lorry came up. So it was literally my turn to go on the bin lorry, the refuse lorry, like. And when I went under, I spent 20 years in the refuse lorry. I'd nearly be the longest serving employee at Longford County Council on the refuse. Now the refuse was tough, dirty, hard work. But I loved every minute of it, like. But when I went on the refuse lorry, the three men that were on it, little Tony Murphy was driving it. He was a fireman as well, he lived on Ward's Terrace. Big son Huzzy now. Son Huzzy would be the grandfather of that Kevin Huzzy who's after being elected there in the last election there a fortnight ago or whatever. The famous man, Mickey the Spiv Riley was his name.
Yeah, I heard
you know,
football.
Mickey was... Jesus, I remember when he left, he was on it, they were the three. I remember when Mickey left at 60, he had been in the First World War, like, or the Second World War, sorry. When Mickey left at 60, we had a party, we had a marathon party, like, for about 3 days, and I cooled down the end of the fort. But anyway, Mickey, and he lived for, son Huzzy died. When I was about 2 years on the council, poor old son died. And Mickey, after a lot of years, retired. Tony Murphy left. So new men came in. Seamus Clancy from Knockanby out there, out the Killishy Road, he took over the driving. Barney Yearly, another lad from out around Newtown, he came, he died too. And there came a lad then from Tashini, Joe Carney, a younger fellow, a good bit younger than me, mind you. And he also, over a period, now they're dead now, they didn't die on the job. So Hugh Gilmurray came, and Sonny O'Shea. So I spent up in 20 years on it anyway, and at that time we done the whole county, within the speed limits of every town and village. You started there, you worked within the speed limits. You know what I mean?
How do you...
Well, it means to be a speed limit going into a village, we'd say 30, 40 miles an hour. We started at the next house and worked around it. Like. You know, because you had to, you couldn't be lifting it, we say, from Edgerstown to Granard on the main road, house after house. But anyway, we were at that anyway, and in 1992, the council decided that they, now at this time, we had a lorry rented off my ladies, and we were also tipping the stuff in my ladies who had a dump in Drumlish at the time.
So that was happening already, like?
It was happening already. The only thing that the council was supplying was the labour.
Okay.
So the council in 1992 decided that they were going to give up the country end of it. And after a lot of negotiations and one thing and another, we went to the Urban Council. The Urban Council decided that they would hold the refuse. And they held it for 7 years, I think. And we then left it. It folded up completely in January 1999. And I went back to the roads again, doing what I was doing, labouring work, you know. And I'd be with Bernie Nolan on the truck, or you'd be doing this, you'd be doing traffic management, or you'd be doing whatever, when there'd be edge cutting, you'd be behind, general labouring work. So, after a year or two, I got him then with Tom Brady, when I left to go back, Tom Brady and Tommy Owens, who would be dead, Lord rest him, and Pat O'Donoghue, he was the overseer, he is dead too. They would have been the three men that I sort of would have been with or whatever. And I done this, that and the other, and then after a while Jimmy McCormick, Tom Brady came to me one day. Tom Brady was good to me, with over them in the summer. Tom Brady came to me one day, he said it was his job to get somebody to relieve Jimmy McCormick when Jimmy took his 3 weeks annual holidays from the council offices. And other lads had done it previously, and he said I was about the last one left, and would I do it? I thought about it on one thing and another, and I didn't want to let him down, so I said, right, I said, I'll do it for the 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
So the first year I went in for the 3 weeks anyway, Jimmy brought me around for a day or two. Now there was no emails and laptops and all nothing. You're talking 2003 at the time, and I'm not into them anyway.
Paper.
So I was writing them down in cigarette boxes and on betting slips. This was that and the other was that. So I'll never forget it. I often think about. I remember Jimmy coming here on the Sunday night with this bunch of keys, and he said that he ran through it again as good as we could. And I remember then going up to the post office on the Monday morning. And as I says, there was no emails or nothing at that time. Now you were talking roughly every day. You were talking between 800 and 1,000 letters roughly.
Wow.
To be split, like as we call it, like for the different sections, for the roads, for the environment, for the libraries, for the house.
Yeah, because there's 3 different sections.
All different sections within the council.
That's a lot though, isn't it?
Jeez, I remember going up to the post office anyway, and we have this big hold all now, like when the manager would have a football club, you know. Dragged it down to town and opened the doors, and I says, Jesus, I never should have doing this. I says, now I can't get over it. So lucky enough, I met a man, he's alive still, a nice man, a man by the name of Michael Clancy. He would be in the office of the council, and apparently he came into work early every day. So he was there the first day I went in to sort these letters. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have stayed the first day. I thought I knew till I went to split them. I had watched Jimmy a little bit if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know the way, but this man stood over me literally for the 3 weeks in the mornings. Every morning I was there, he was there before me. And he gave me an unbelievable hand. Now had he not been there to do that, like I never would have stayed, regardless, like I was going to walk away.
Fair play to him.
I'll always be thankful to the man. But I think, anyway, I had Jimmy then, I was ringing Jimmy here, there, every place. Where was this, where was that? Because there's 5 buildings involved in the caretaking in the county council. Now you wouldn't have much dealings in 2 of them, but there is 5 buildings, like. There's the 2 down Water Street, there's the 2 libraries to a lesser extent, and the housing. But you still have to be there every day to letters here and letters there and that. But Jimmy then, as I said, any time I rang the phone, no matter where Jimmy was or whatever, he always answered it and he talked me through it. And if he couldn't talk me through it, and he was around, he'd come in and show me, like.
Okay.
You know, which was a massive help because there was a lot to know. So I was at that anyway, relieving Jimmy and one thing and another. Unfortunately, Jimmy got sick a couple of times, and then I went in for a couple of months and that. And I was doing the lollipop at the school at the same time. Done the lollipop for a couple of years, I don't know how many years.
What school?
St Joseph's on the Dublin Road.
Okay.
They put in the light stain, which I and a lot of people thought was a bad idea, but thanks be to God, they have worked 100%.
Yeah.
And hopefully it continues that way.
Yeah.
Like the people were inclined to think, and so did I, that the old way with the man jumping out in the road was safer.
It was definitely stop the cars. Like,
but no, the lights were a success, and hopefully it continues to be
respecting
a success.
the lights. Yeah.
I don't know how many years I've gotten them now. It must be I must be 12 or 13 years gone, and young people has often said to me up the street, weren't you lollipop man? You know?
Yeah.
And I'd say I went to the school. Now I would remember them, but they'd remember me, of course. Like.
No.
But anyway, Jimmy got sick, and Jimmy decided then that he'd leave the office.
Sorry, yeah, no worries. I'll just pause this. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Jimmy decided that he'd leave, so the job come up. And I was there at the time, had been there for a while, but I had to go through the proper process. So the application forms came out, 3 applied for the job. I ended up getting the job anyway. Now, prior to that, what I meant to say to you was, and I forgot to say it, when Tom Brady asked me to go into the council offices, I said to myself, like, the general make out on the road was, we're the outdoor staff, they're the indoor staff.
It's different.
They look about, like, you know what I mean? They'll be looking down at you or whatever. Now, I'll have to say, as I said about Michael Clancy, from the first day I put my foot inside in the council offices till the day I walked out of it on the 31st of last August, there was never one person down there, from the people at the top to the people that was just after coming in, maybe for experience or for a yearly contract or whatever. There was never one person if I had a problem. Now the problems got lesser as I got to know the job, if you understand me, like. But there was never one person down there that wouldn't help you. They couldn't do enough for you as regards helping you, like, in any way. So that was only a myth, like, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got the job anyway, and how long did I stay in it? I don't, but like, firstly I got the job, then it'd be a slow process. I had to be appointed to the job. So I went all through this anyway. And as I said, I stayed until last August and that. And I think back on it now, like, I mean, it was as time went on, I only realised that how lucky I was the first day that I came on the council. Now, I didn't think that at that time. But 45 years later, and it didn't take 45 years to realise it, that had Mick Reynolds not given me the job or getting me the job that day, I don't know where I would have ended up.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I spent 45 good years on it.
Yeah.
And I remember an old man saying to me, after about 6 weeks, this man said to me, how are you getting on? And I said, I don't know. I says, I don't know what I'm going to do. I says, but I don't think I'm going to stay. Why? He says. I said, well, the wages are no good. And one thing and another, I went to tell you now, he said, now at that time there was big factories in the town, there was plenty of building. He said, well, I tell you, he says, the building contractors, he says, the houses will be built and they'll be gone. The factories will be built, he says, and unfortunately, he says, they'll come and they'll go. The council, he said, will always be there. You'll get what you're entitled to every fortnight, and when you're going, whatever you're entitled to, he said, you'll get it too. And that was an incentive for me to stay.
Yeah.
And you know, he was 100% right.
Yeah.
He was 100% right in what he said.
Yeah.
The houses and estates were built and the contractors were gone, and the factories, unfortunately, the most of them or whatever didn't last. But the council lasted. And you got everything, they're great employees, like, because you're working for the government, of course. You got everything you were entitled to.
Yeah.
And you got it when you were there, and you got it when you were going.
Well, yeah, to say it is a great job to get, like, safe.
Now,
safe.
the wages, let it be on the road or let it be in the offices now, barring you're at the top. But like, they might be smaller than outside in the private sector, like, or the public sector. But the thing about it is the security is there.
A guarantee, like, almost.
Yeah, it's not all about money.
Yeah.
If you look long term into it, like, it's not all about, you have to take security and conditions and all that into account, like.
Yeah, yeah.
So like, all I'd advise anybody, as I said, and I spent 45 years I had a lucky to do it. I mean, it's the place to be.
Yeah.
It's the place to be. I mean, there was people, I think, there was people left there during the crazy times in the mid 2004s or 3s or that. They were on the council, let them be inside, let them be outside, they left. And I can tell you one thing, because they said it themselves in an awful lot, it was the sorriest thing they ever done.
Yeah, to see the short term and seeing, you know, like, the money elsewhere and thought, like,
you know.
As that man said, like, it was only temporary. Like.
Yeah, it was only temporary for the council.
But that will always be there, it has to be there.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
there's social clubs in it, like, there's this in it, there's everything, there's, you know what I mean? No, it was the place to be, and as I said, I was very lucky the first day. I never thought it took me a couple of years to realise.
Yeah.
But I was very lucky, like, to go on at the first day of the stake.
Come here, tell me, when you go around with the bins now, you did the whole county almost then.
Yeah, we done every village.
You must have some little stories or some little
Well,
fun
even
memories.
to this day, like, I mean, I could be up to town, like it happened there about a month ago, and I seen this man and woman come and meeting me, my age plus, like,
Okay.
and I said, who the hell are these? And the man says to me, excuse me, he said, now it wouldn't be the first time this happened over the years. He said, excuse me, he said, your face is familiar, he said, I seen you around the town once or twice. He said, I meant to ask you, he said, if you don't mind. He said, did you work, he said, on the refuse, on the bins with Longford? Now don't forget, we are gone since 1992 out in the country area. And he says, did you work on the bins, he says, in Longford County Council? He says, I did. Just, he says, you used to lift our bins, he says, in Lanesborough. He says, I still remember, he says. I says, that's not, well, so we stopped lifting them in 1992. That was 32 years ago. And, like, I would have met a lot of people that are still speaks to me today, not alone from the town, but from the country, that I would have known through being at their houses every Wednesday morning or Friday morning or whatever morning, and 6, 7 years, I think maybe 8 years we lived. I was there out the country, like, before we came back. So I meet all sorts of people. Like,
any funny finds?
Then Christmas was a big thing. Like, everybody used to be dreading Christmas, but we were waiting for Christmas to come along when we were on the bin lorry, because the people in general, and the majority of them, were very good to us at Christmas.
Little drink or whatever.
Well, drink, like, I tell you, I've seen us drunk on it a couple of times. You know, when I think of it now, how we weren't killed off it myself, and now the driver wouldn't be drinking. But myself and maybe another couple that was on the back of it, how we got from A to B, I don't know. But as I said, Christmas was a bonus to us, if you had the sense to mind it.
Yeah.
Which I didn't at the time, but I got over that, that's all right.
Yeah.
But, no. You got to know people and seeing that you could come along on the road then, which wasn't a nice thing. We often came along a traffic accident, like. Now some of them might be only tips and the most of them were, like, but you know, you could be held up and you'd see this and you'd see that. Like, it was great, and the people knew us. And we knew as many people in Ballymahan and Granard as we did in Longford. Now we mightn't know them by name. But you knew where they lived, like, or what the work.
You can always tell about them as well, about what's in the bins as well, maybe. So you know.
But as I said, like, no, go back again, the 45 and a half years or whatever. If I could spend the 45 and a half years again on the council, I'd love to spend every minute of it on the bin lorry. The bin lorry, of all I'd done on it, the bin lorry was my favourite job. Like.
Just the banter and just being out.
The banter, and like, it was, every day was different. The weather determined the day, like. And at least you were in a different place once every week, like. In different areas and that. Like.
And did you find anything amazing that was dumped, or you know?
You'd often find stuff, You'd often find stuff, you know, like, you know. Never found the crown jewels or anything. But you could come across stuff. And like, I tell you what, like, we often come across jewellery and aftershave and maybe unwanted presents, like, and one thing and another, like, you know. But that was my lifetime on the council, as I said now. And 45, I can't believe it was 45 years ago, like, you know.
Well, it went so fast, like.
Went so fast.
Yeah.
Now the bins as is were tough and dirty, and if you had a good few drinks the night before, they'd be even harder, but you got over that, like. But I would have meeting a lot of people that I never would have meeten, or that I wouldn't have known, or they wouldn't have known me if it wasn't for, we'll say, on the bin.
And what was a typical day? What time did you start at? Like, was it the same every day? Well,
you see, the time of the year, we worked to the time of the year, if you know what I mean. Like in the winter, which would be from the 1st of November, from the 1st of November we'd say on till the Cheltenham races. There was 2 or 3 of us loved it, Tony Murphy, and wanted to try and be finished for the Cheltenham races. So, like, in the winter time of the year we'd start maybe around 7 o'clock. And it was task and finish. You went as hard as you could, and when you were finished, you were finished. Like, there was nobody looking over
your own time.
You have to be here till 4 o'clock.
And stay today.
You hadn't to do that. And now we worked regardless of weather conditions, like rain, snow, whatever. Once the lorry could go, we went. So it was a sort of job and finish. And as I said, we used to work on a Saturday too. It was a sort of a bonus, I think it was initially given. it was doing the institutes, I think the institutes or whatever, like it was the public buildings, it was the schools around the town, the guards barracks, the military barracks, Mount Carmel, St. Joseph's, the priest house. We done all them on it was a sort of a gift, I think, an incentive that the engineers at the time before my time gave to the men that was on the refuse truck, like.
Okay.
And we done that. But what did you ask me before? I started, wasn't it?
What was a typical day? You started?
A typical day was, right, in the summer, winter time of the year, 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Now, when they had been coming into the springtime, like we'd say March or that, we'd start maybe around 6:15.
Okay.
And we could be finished, all going well, the lorry didn't break down and you didn't get a puncture or whatever. Like, you could be finished at 12:30. But don't forget, we're only taking 5 minutes for our tea.
Yeah.
Like, because
you're doing the same work no matter how much time
you
you're
want
doing
to get in and get out. There was no point in taking your time and messing all day.
Because you'd be there
and
all
the
day.
next thing is you could get wet for the last 2 hours.
Yeah.
Where if you had to do the work as you should have done,
Yeah.
you'd be at home for it. Like you'd be wherever you'd be. Like.
Yeah.
And job and finish.
Yeah. And you must have seen a lot of change. Like, you're going talking decades here now. Like, you know, like as you said, there was no lunches or no breakfast rolls and all that.
No, you brought a sandwich with you.
Okay.
Like, as regards protective clothing, you got a pair of gloves, and they gave out, I do often see them there on the ads, the fisherman ads there on the fishermen at sea, they gave out yellow coats and trousers.
Yeah.
Now, they were totally inadequate, but they were an awful lot better than nothing, like. But they were very hard to work on, like. They'd be alright for standing on the side of a river fishing. But you see, when you started to move in them and that, like,
stiff.
And they were stiff and hard and that. And as we went on, like, everything improved. Like, we got better gear for working in, and we got better lorries and got all that. Like.
But you had to do, wasn't it? You had to lift the bin.
Oh, we lifted the bins.
Yeah.
Like, that's why it was a great job to an extent. It kept you fit.
Yeah.
You were lifting them and walking behind it, like, and swinging out of it like monkeys, going from house to house, maybe out in the country a bit, like. Yeah. But you walked behind it and you threw the stuff in.
Yeah, I remember the old fashioned, but just silver big metal bins, and you were left throwing them or whatever, bags.
Like, so people took liberties, so we threw everything we could within reason.
Yeah.
We obliged the people as much as we could, like, you know. Some people you couldn't oblige them, you could oblige them and you'd say to them, well, now, Jesus, we take that this week, but I can't do it again, because if an engineer came by a house and he'd seen something there, and he came back when we were gone and it was gone, and he said, well, you shouldn't have thrown in that sort of thing, because you break the machine, like.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, I can remember before it ceased in 1999, the stuff, when we were tipping the stuff from the ladies. Now, the urban area was a very small area in 1999. Compared to what it is today.
Bigger sprawl today,
yeah. But the stuff had to be weighed. When you went out with the lorry, when the lorry was full, the lorry had to be put on a weigh bridge and weighed, because you were paying by ton.
Okay, so this the council with the business?
The council, yeah. Well, you see, the stuff was weighed.
Okay.
And my ladies charged the council by weight.
Okay.
So much a ton. And in the urban area of the time, and I'm not going to go into the size of the urban area, it was very small anyway, I can't be one. But we were throwing in roughly, I can tell you why, we were throwing in 70 tonne of stuff a week in the urban area.
Well.
Now, because I'll tell you why. When the lorry was completely packed, it held 14 tonne.
Okay.
Now, after 3 days, we had 2 very busy days within the 3. One of the days we filled it, one of the days we'd fill it maybe once, and the next 2 days you'd fill it twice, or as near as the full. So, like, that was 70 tonne, the guts of 70 tonne we were throwing in. Like.
So that being used, if you were doing your round, you had to go there, like if it was full, you had to go, you know.
You had to go to, like we might stand there, or depending on if it was a good day, like you'd be only going out to the ladies, which is only out the road, and we were only in the town anyway. It'd be only a half an hour between going out and coming back or whatever.
Yeah.
You might go in someplace. You mightn't go into the shop with the light of candle, but you might go someplace beside it.
Yeah.
But no, it was great, and as I said, it kept you healthy, and it was good days and bad days and that. But I loved the county. Look, as I said again, I keep repeating myself, I don't know how lucky I was when I was leaving there last January or last August, after a couple of weeks, I got everything I was entitled to, my lump sums, my pension, the whole lot. Like, you could be working for a fella, contractor in the buildings or that, they might turn them round and have a piss up in the pub and a bunch of flowers for the wife, and that's it. So I mean, that's the security of the council, really, like, or any government job like that, like, you know.
That's it.
And I would advise anybody, if one comes up for it, let it be inside or outside, go for it.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Thanks very much again, Kevin, for talking to me. That was brilliant.
Well, I did enjoy it. Like,
I do love hearing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Stories,
well, I think we played it all.
I think, yeah.
Yeah.